each meeting. Oh, thank you. And they've had a really consistent about 15 to 20 attendees at each meeting. And they've really started the process of organizing and norming and forming the meetings. So each meeting, a large part of it has just been introducing folks to each other. And, I think everybody knows the first few meetings, you have some folks show up and then sometimes they send a representative on their behalf. And it's just a kind of a process of meeting and re-meeting everyone in that area. Something that they've done that has been really helpful is to have a Google Doc or Google Drive where they share documents and share minutes from the meetings, and just share resources and information. So they're also, what they're doing is having an in-person and a virtual meeting. So the Western Slope Food Bank of the Rockies and Meals on Wheels, there's a brand new facility out there that has been incredible in allowing them to have their meetings there. And sorry about this, allowing them to have their meetings there. And then also, of course, the virtual option. So, and they do get folks showing up in person and virtual. I think some folks are pretty hungry for that in-person experience and actually meeting somebody outside of a Zoom screen. So they do have folks show up, and they don't have to pay for their meeting space or anything. And yeah, it's just been a really productive experience, reshaping and reorganizing that coalition out on the Western Slope. And then Megan just this week actually traveled down to, we're not calling it the Southern Coalition, but it's the Southern Border is how I came to kind of characterize it versus our old Southern Coalition, which was really more like Southern Denver, really like Colorado Springs. So Megan, do you want to share a little bit about your travels?
Sure. Can everyone hear me? I hope. Okay. So Monday and Tuesday, I was down in Alamosa and trying to promote a new program that I have through the ARPA HICPUF grants that they were awarding. Our program's called New Adventures, and it's a day respite program for children 6 to 12. With developmental disabilities. And so we went to 2 site visits or potential sites, I guess is what I should say, and to just kind of check it out and meet everyone down there. We also are partnering with Adams State University, the nursing program, and we met with them. And we're going to have student nurses basically staff the program and do one-on-one care with the kiddos, and then there's a nursing supervisor that comes along with them, and we'll have an RN there that's running the program. So this is going to start in about let's see, first thing that we have scheduled down there is October 12th, and possibly earlier if we can get other nursing schools down there. So I'm very excited to kind of step into the area and try and meet people and build the support down there. So that's my report.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. And yeah, and if anybody has any questions about that, or if anybody's in that area, please reach out and we'd love to get you connected to others in that area. We know there's a big need for respite care down there. So, again, and then Megan, I think the next one is you as what? How do I? Okay, there we go.
Okay,
cool.
Great. I think there should be 17 on here, but it looks like there might be, I didn't count right. Anyway, so recently we just awarded $322,000. These are, let me back up. Colorado Respite Coalition through Easter Seals already also has the state respite grant, and this is funded by state general funds, and we release a RFP yearly. This year we pushed it earlier, even a couple months earlier, so we can allow these agencies to have more time to utilize the funding. So we had the most applications that I've seen in my years here. So 19 applications, and I think 18 or maybe 18 applications and 17 were approved anyway. So yeah, so we have some repeat grantees, and then we have some new people this year with really innovative ideas. So we're really very happy to support everybody. This is around Colorado here, and mostly metro, but we're really pushing for the rural areas and getting some respite care assistance into those areas. So we have new this year, we have Home Instead, which is in Durango, and Faith Place Outdoors, I believe, is kind of Colorado Springs area, outside of it, Colorado Springs. So, and Volunteers of America is new this year, that's Northern Colorado. So anyway, I'm really excited to see, I already have received some invoices for July. That's another thing we already, we determined that an option A and option B. Option A is they bill us monthly. Option B, thank you, Amy. Faith Place is in Larimer County. And then option B is they can get 2 payments at the middle and at the end. So anyway, we're just really excited to see what everyone's working on, and that's it. And I will. Does VOA service Montrose area? Not under this grant that I'm aware of. This is.
And then I think I saw Diane on the, oh, hi, thank you, Carrie.
Oh, there she is, yeah.
Yeah, if there's anybody from VOA who wants to chat about that, feel free.
Okay, they're working on it right there. Okay, so I'll just hand it back to you, Erin. Thank you. Or if anyone else, any other questions I can answer.
Yeah, so yeah, like Megan said, this is an annual grant program. So Megan, is it safe to say about May next year? April, May is when the announcement for the next year's grant funds will be taking place?
Yeah, I would say May.
Which I know it's crazy to talk about that now, but I feel like we're on the downward slide for the end of the year, and it'll be April before we know it. So
yeah, it's May, June, July are those crazy months. So yeah.
Great. So yeah, you know, we try to improve every year the awareness of the grant program, the access to the application, and we've gone over the application questions, trying to improve the application, and you know, yeah, just try to bring some awareness and opportunities to this program. So if you know of any respite programs out there who could benefit from this, let us know. Thanks, Nadine. Megan, what do you think was the average amount?
I want to say probably 20,000. And we had lowered the higher limit to 30,000 this year so that we could award more grants. So, but I would say about 20,000.
Cool. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about that program, or if you work for any of these organizations and you have questions, Megan is available, or reach out just to the program and we'll get you an answer. So
yep. Thank you.
Great. So we're a little ahead of schedule, but I think that's okay. And then I saw Amy Smith join. So Amy, thank you for joining us. And we will actually, here, I'm gonna, so anyway, I'll start here. Our panel discussion on compensation for caregiving. So a lot of folks, I know we have a lot of professionals on this call, so you may be familiar with the opportunity for caregivers to be compensated for what they do at home with their loved ones, but we find that it is the most commonly searched topic on our website. And Megan and I find that we have a lot of questions about it. So it just seemed like it made sense to bring everybody together to talk about this sort of simple but kind of nuanced topic, and something that could definitely benefit all of the caregivers in Colorado, or a lot of caregivers in Colorado. So thank you all for joining us today, and we're really looking forward to diving into the details of this. So we have a representative from the VA out on the Western Slope. We have representative from Solace Pediatric Healthcare and from Team Select Home Care. So we will go ahead and get started. And so we're gonna have the speakers each present on their program. Feel free to pepper questions in the chat as we go, but then there will also be time at the end to ask questions. Keep your questions, and then ask questions, and we'll also follow up with any information after the webinar, and any unanswered questions we'll find answers to and get them for you. So the first slide that's going to come up is the VA, but we're actually going to start with Solace. So Liz, are you ready to kick us off?
I am. Thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah.
And are we going to do this the way that we had initially spoke about, the back and forth?
You go. No, we're gonna. You can go ahead and answer all of your questions and present on your whole program, and then we'll move to Taylor and Amy.
Okay, perfect. Great. Sounds good. Let me just pull up these questions here. Well, let's back up. My name is Liz Fite, and I am the Community Outreach Lead for Solace Home Healthcare. I recognize a lot of names and faces on this call, but for those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, it is so nice to meet you, and I'm honored to be here as a representative of Solace today. So, at Solace, we offer the family caregiver programs. And I know the first question that we wanted to answer is, who is eligible to receive compensation for caregiving? And essentially, anyone in the home that is interested in becoming a paid caregiver for their loved one is eligible. Most often we see parent caregivers, but I do want to emphasize these programs aren't limited to parents or even family members for that matter. I have seen nannies, neighbors, friends, siblings, and extended family all become a paid caregiver for their loved one, so long as they can complete an I-9 for employment, along with passing a background screening. So those are two contingencies. The second question was, do you apply through Medicaid or through an agency for these services? And you do not apply through Medicaid, although a Medicaid benefit is required to participate in the caregiver services as either a primary or a secondary. But if you're looking to apply to become a family caregiver with Solace, it's as simple as giving us a call or filling out a referral form on our website. And if you're in need of that Medicaid benefit, we would be more than happy to assist you in navigating the system and going through that entire application process. So that is how you would apply. And then geographical regions that we serve. We are as far south as Pueblo. We are as far north as Loveland, Greeley, and Fort Collins. And then we service everything in between. We don't go out on like the Western Slope, Summit County, anything like that. I know that tends to be a pain point, but we do go Pueblo to Foco and everything in between. Okay, question number 4. What is the amount of compensation, and is it hourly or salary? So all of our family caregivers are hourly employees, and our pay rates vary, seeing as our unlicensed caregivers are going to be paid at a slightly lower rate than our fully licensed caregivers. So once an individual passes their state exams and they become fully licensed, their pay does bump up. So with that, there's a bit of a range with the pay rates. I want to put it in a ballpark of $18 to $21 an hour. But I do want to just make it known that we always want to settle on a rate that families are comfortable and happy with. So we're willing to negotiate, we're open to negotiation. But if I had to put a monetary value to this question, I would say 18 to 21 is our starting. Would you like me to be answering these questions in the chat as I go, or just go through my entire thing and then answer at the end?
Either way, up to you.
Okay,
I'm keeping an eye on them, but yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep rolling and then I'll look at these at the end.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's see. How often does the caregiver need to check in with the agency? Honestly, at Solace, as frequently or infrequently as you would like. We really try to accommodate our family's needs. So if a family is kind of wanting less communication, we can honor that. If a family is looking for more of a community and connection, we can also honor that. We just ask that they are responsive when our RN care managers are trying to complete mandatory visits in the home, such as a supervisory visit or a recertification visit, things of that nature. But apart from that, we don't need a ton of communication. As I said, unless that's what you're wanting, we can make either kind of happen. Okay, does the agency conduct home visits? Yes, we do. If they are an unlicensed caregiver, we are required to do bi-weekly supervision visits for that unlicensed caregiver. Because they are unlicensed, they're operating under one of our nurses' supervision. So that's going to be bi-weekly. Once a caregiver is fully licensed, every 56 to 60 days, the nurse is going to come by for a recertification visit. It's just going to be a quick visit. They check in with their nurse and then we're out of their hair. And again, that's every 60 days. So a couple months. What does the training entail? So for starters, the training is completely free and it always will be to the family. We have several training options available to our caregivers, depending on schedules, availability, location, and even language. We're partnered with over 18 schools across the state, so we can offer anything ranging from online to in person, expedited, fast track, or totally self-paced. We've got plenty of options on that front. And other things that caregivers can expect if they're going to come with Solace, or really any agency for that matter, is a CPR certification in addition to the training for the program, and a TB potentially. So that's what they can expect for the training. Then we would ship an iPad to their home for a 30-minute virtual orientation. After that, we would begin care with that family and caregiver. And then question number 8, wrapping it up, are there any limitations or wait lists? Wait lists? No, we have absolutely no wait list at all for these services. Only real limitation on the patient side would be if they were deemed ineligible at the time of our in-home assessment. And the only real limitation on the caregiver side is if they are unable to complete that I-9 for employment or pass a background screening. So that is basically Solace's answers in a nutshell. I didn't want to take up too much time, but we can absolutely open it up to questions. It looks like there's quite a few.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate it. Yeah, so the first one is, and it's pretty specific, do you serve Fremont County?
Fremont County. I want to say no, we do not. Can I get back to you on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then, so Amy had asked too, who needs to be eligible for Medicaid, the caregiver, the recipient, or either, and then Damien said it's the recipient. Is that's correct for your program?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and then, yeah, I will also keep track of all these questions for you. Go ahead. Sorry. And then, how far east do you serve, Liz?
How far east? Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm geographically challenged. Let me check in on these exact counties and I will put them all in the chat.
Okay. Great.
I just don't want to misspeak. I have an idea, but I don't want to say anything on the record that's inaccurate. So I'm just going to list all of the counties that we serve in the chat. Does that work for everyone? Okay, I would hate to misspeak or provide any false information. I apologize.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. And that's what I was going to ask is like how you determine where you serve. So it's based on county.
It's based by county and I have a list of counties. So sometimes when I just hear a city name, my geographic skills are unimpressive for Colorado native.
Sure.
So I'll put it all in the chat.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. And yeah, I think that's it. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything else you want to ask before we move on? I can't see, so if anyone's like speaking on mute, let me know. Great. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Liz. And yeah, if anyone has questions, her contact information is on the screen. We'll share it after the call. And then I'll keep that list of counties that you share, Liz, and we'll share it out with everyone as well.
Amazing, so, thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So Taylor, if you are ready, great. Okay, this worked out. Taylor, if you are ready, we will move on to Team Select Home Care.
All right, well, thank you, Erin. Going to be tough to match that Liz energy. So it's probably be a little, little more chill. Great job going through all the questions, Liz. She answered a lot kind of as far as like industry-wide, how things work. So I think I might just run everyone just really quickly through like the process and how things work. So if you have a family member, anybody that you think might need these services, you can do many different things. You can hit your Google button and look for agencies, but you can pretty much contact any agency that does this, and we pretty much will do. Ooh, I'm sorry. Can you give me just 1 second?
Sure.
Okay, all right, thank you. So the process is pretty simple. It's basically like a referral comes in, and then we all have to do what's called a pediatric or adult assessment tool. And this is really just something that Medicaid gives us to essentially grade what is happening in the home. So when patients qualify, they'll either qualify for a certain amount of daily hours. So this is going to be anywhere from like 1 hour a day to like 8 hours a day. And this is all based on acuity of the patient. So not everybody that qualifies is going to qualify for the same amount of hours. Those are going to just kind of vary patient to patient. Once you do qualify, as Liz said, you go through CNA school, and the agency really should be paying for all of your schooling. And these are like good questions to ask, like, what is the agency going to pay for? Are they going to pay for my CPR test? Are they going to pay for my TB test? Are they going to pay for my state test? Different agencies are going to have different benefit packages also. So pricing is a big thing, and I think a lot of agencies are kind of flexible on what their pricing is, but I think it's also important to think about like, what is the full package? I know Damien Rosenberg is on this call, and Pasco, for example, pays for time off. So there's different things to weigh. It's like, oh, I might be making a little less hourly, but I'm also going to get PTO with this company. They're going to pay for like my state testing. The thing about right now is this is an extremely competitive environment, and there are a lot of agencies doing what we're all doing. The thing about this is you can really shop around and see what's best for you. There's nothing that like says you have to go with company A. If they come out and do an assessment with a nurse, you pretty much you can have multiple assessments. The tools are supposed to be like super objective. Like the pediatric assessment tool really is supposed to be the same agency to agency, but because it's kind of administered by people, there can occasionally be some variance. So if you want to, get a quote from company A, you can have them come out. It's like, oh, they gave me 3 hours. There's nothing that says you can't get multiple quotes from different agencies to see like who can get you the most hours, what the benefits are. The families, like in this current environment, really hold a lot of the power because it is so competitive out there. So when I'm talking, sometimes to my own detriment, when I'm talking to families, I tell them like people want you to sign up. So I want the families to feel empowered to ask for more, ask for benefits, ask for higher pay, because everyone is going for these families. It's very, very competitive market right now. So families really need to feel empowered, and don't be afraid to get second opinions and ask for more than what you've been offered, because companies are normally willing to help you out and give you more. But a lot of people just don't know to even ask for it. So that's something that I would recommend. We do get a lot of service requests for different areas. I know a lot of people are curious, like, where do you service? What areas do you cover? And I think a lot of the main agencies here in the Denver area, like Solace and Team Select and Pasco, pretty much service like the Front Range, from north to south. So finding this program on like the Western Slope or the Eastern Plains can be a little bit difficult. If I don't know someone like right off the top of my head that services a particular area, I always would just send them to the community center board, because if there is a company that is providing that service in the county, the community center board should know. So if there are ever questions about, I've got someone in who knows where, like Durango or something, people can always contact the community center board, and they should be able to kind of point you in the direction of like an agency that could help out. So most of Colorado is covered, but there are areas that are particularly difficult to get the family CNA program. As far as like some limitations and wait lists, language barriers can be kind of an issue. I don't know if Liz, you've run into this before, but Spanish speakers, we see a ton of. So we have a couple of dedicated Spanish speakers in the office. If you have someone that speaks Spanish, they're able to take the state test, the written portion in Spanish, but they have to take the skills portion in English. So that's always kind of something to consider. A lot of the schools we work with try to like really coach them up ahead of time for that skills portion. And we've had a lot that pass. But that's kind of for Spanish. Like we get referrals for, crazy like languages that unfortunately they still have to go through CNA school. So there's not a super great solution for languages, like second languages other than Spanish. So I would kind of say that is a limitation as well. That's kind of the process. You get a referral, the nurse does an assessment, tells you if you qualify and for how many hours. You go through CNA training, which like Liz said, and I think a lot of agencies are fairly similar, pretty much work with any CNA school in the area and pay for it. So it's kind of like you pick your CNA school. Once you're done with that, you become an employee of the home health agency that you've chosen. And I mean, essentially, like as Medicaid looks at it, you're a CNA that's working for a Colorado licensed home health agency, but your only patient is going to be that family member or loved one that you're taking care of. And that's pretty much it. Medicaid pays a Medicaid rate to the agency, and then the agency pays the caregiver just like they would any other CNA. It just happens to be like a family or a loved one in this case.
Great. Thanks so much, Taylor. And yeah, we didn't have too many questions, except, and then is your geographic area, do you think you serve the same counties that Liz listed in the chat, or are there any counties, additional counties that you serve?
I mean, I'm guessing it's similar, if not identical to that list.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Is there, and I think I know the answer to this, but just for the sake of clarification, is there any limit on other employment that you have at the same time as being a family caregiver?
No limit on other employment, as long as you can kind of complete the care plan. And I mean, let's say, for example, you got, 7 hours of care that you were approved for, but you can only complete like 3 of those. The agency should be able to work with you and kind of work around your schedule, but no other employment will preclude you from being a family caregiver.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
And then Taylor, is all of this only Medicaid driven, which I believe in Liz's presentation, she said that is that the recipient has to be on a Medicaid plan.
Yep. So it has to be, and that's a good question. Yeah, it has to be through Medicaid, whether it's an adult or a child. If it's an adult, they need to be on like state Medicaid. So we see a lot of people that unfortunately have like the qualified Medicare beneficiary, but it looks like Medicaid to them. So it has to be either state Medicaid or they have to be on a waiver. I will say this, once they come on service, they do need to get on to long-term care Medicaid because we're providing a long-term care service. We help them do that, and I think most agencies probably help them do that. But it is good to note that from the start of care, if adults are on state Medicaid, just regular state Medicaid, they have 60 days from the start date to get that long-term care active. So it's kind of a tight window, knowing, how Medicaid works. So if they can, start working on that as quickly as possible, that has to be in place at some point. And there's a 60-day window to get on the long-term care from the start. We can start them on regular state Medicaid, and we do it all the time. But they do need to eventually go into long-term care Medicaid.
Great. Thank you. And reading Kent's first comment, but I don't think there's a question. There seems to be a service disparity between paying caregivers depending on age.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Aaron, there isn't any question there. It's just an observation, because my phone calls that come in to me at the Family Caregiver Support Center are from adults asking about how to be paid to be the caregiver for their mom or their dad, kind of a thing. And so that's all through Medicaid, and I'm aware of that. I was just noticing the conversation to this point seems to be geared towards the child end of the spectrum, not the adult end of the spectrum.
I agreed, Ken, which is kind of a shame. So Team Select definitely services adults, and it feels like a little kind of underserviced and underreported that people do. I'll go into adult, hospitals, SNFs, and a lot of the case managers that I talk to, it's like their first time hearing about it. So I don't think the word is super out on adults. And I know Team Select does service all ages, but I mean, a lot of the agencies just focus on pediatrics and won't do the program for adults. So you do need to find an agency that does that. Team Select does, but it's a good point. It does feel very pediatric driven.
So my suggestion is that we need to expand that to start focusing on adults, because, and I am one of them, as the boomers, in about 2040, 2050, when all the boomers are 80 or over, the care ratio of family members to boomers is going to be down to 1 to 2, meaning one family member the possibility of 2 family members serving as that quote unpaid caregiver for the one boomer. That's not sustainable because right now it's 4-to-1 or 5-to-1. And so boomers are not going to have the luxury of relying on unpaid family members to be their caregivers because it's not going to be there. And so having that option of paying the family member to be the caregiver may be helping to ease the reliance on relying on paid professionals like home care agencies and whatnot to provide that care. I'm just saying there's a huge disparity between children and aging, plus the fact that for some reason it seems more socially, morally acceptable to be a family member paid to take care of your child who has some kind of developmental or intellectual disability. But if you've got a family member who has dementia and is medically fragile, somehow being paid to be the caregiver is different. That needs to be changed as well.
Damien, do you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, hi, my name is Damien Rosenberg. I'm with PASCO, Personal Assistance Services of Colorado. We were the agency that got this program off the ground in 2000. This didn't just happen in a vacuum, Kent. This has been, I think the genesis of the idea was who's going to care for a loved one better, right? The parent or someone coming into the house. Now, with seniors, again, this is just a Medicaid program. There's just less. We work with a fair amount of seniors, but there is they're dual eligible, oftentimes Medicaid, Medicare, and that pool in the whole country is not as large. Dementia is, all these programs are very, very nuanced. Dementia is a tricky one. A lot of it's looked at as oversight, where that would be something that I think that it's just advocacy, right? We all stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us. So if people said it's not fair, I want to keep my parents living in the home and like to go to a place that would ultimately bankrupt them, and then they would get on Medicaid, and then it's sort of a backwards thing with adults and seniors. So I think it's just a lot of people in this space. There's so many, and dementia is a very tricky one. We look at a lot of these things as, if you have dementia, the activities of daily living that we're providing are not, like, you can feed yourself in your ambulatory and potentially you could toilet yourself, but you need someone to watch you because you could elope into the street. And right now the state does not deem that as care viable for this program. Or so Alzheimer's is a tricky one. It precludes us from serving people with Alzheimer's. It precludes us from serving people with dementia, et cetera. So, but I mean, there are agencies of people around that donut hole of like filling in for getting onto Medicaid. There are agencies that can help them. Again, some people have money. I mean, there's a lot of trickier ones with adults. Parkinson's, right? You're later onset, you have money. Multiple sclerosis is another one. So it's so nuanced and tricky. But I mean, if people can find a way to get onto Medicaid, there are certainly agencies that do this. And I think people are much more targeting pediatrics, but the older adults population who's already caring for a loved one, like, this is something that we've always done. It's a trickier, and then it's just getting the word out, right? So I would love to be part of a commission or whatever to do that.
That was really informative. Thank you so much, Damien. And then I went ahead and put the passcode, not to, commit you to anything, but I put the passcode information up on the screen while you were chatting. But that makes a lot of sense. It's based on the level of need.
Yeah. And there's some great programs in Colorado. I mean, Colorado in healthcare is probably head and shoulders above most states. I mean, every state's different. Medicaid is different in every state, but we have a great program in Colorado, IHSS, whereby people are on the correct Medicaid waiver, and this is going to change too. It'll expand. is a program called IHSS where people don't need to go through the CNA school, but they have to be on the correct waiver now. So IHSS is something that's, I have my email on the chat. I'm available for lunch or coffee or gin.
Thank you so much. And then Jason, while we're on, I saw you on there, I think, just while we're on the slide, if there's anything you want to add, feel free.
Yeah, just for Kent, like the when it comes to seniors, like the EBD waiver, elderly, blind, and disabled waiver is a really good option. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And to add to Damien's point, it really becomes like a financial issue rather than a functional issue when we're qualifying for services on adults.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you so much. This, it's very informative and there's a lot to all of this. So thank you for sharing. And then Megan, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to say there were a couple of questions. Nadine asks, would youth caregivers be eligible to participate in any of these programs? I think you mean someone under 18.
So there was a new rule, if you don't mind, Jason Pasco, I can take this one. There was a new rule under the IHSS program that will allow caregivers at 16 years of age to become caregivers. Pasco has taken the position that we will accept those employees as long as they're not performing Hoyer transfers or hard transfers, really is where we kind of leave it. So, Yep, that just rolled out this year that you could be 16 under in-home support services, which is IHSS, also a family caregiving program.
That's fantastic. Didn't know that.
And then Liz and Taylor, I'm guessing that is not the case for your programs, or is there anything you want to add?
We don't currently do IHSS, so that would be a call Pasco kind of thing.
And I was actually just typing in the chat, Aaron. Solace also provides in-home support services, and we also serve all ages and all disabilities. So birth to death, all ages, all disabilities. We do see a lot of husband-wife CNA, adult children caring for their elderly parents, and we're happy to help them navigate the adult waiver system, things of that nature. So yes, Solace does do IHSS as well. I was so excited when I kicked this thing off, I forgot to mention that, so I apologize.
Thank you. And yeah, that's an important note, because I do, when I see the Solace Pediatric logo, I just assume it's all pediatric services. So good to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So yeah, unless anyone else has anything to add, I think we'll go ahead and switch gears and talk a little bit about the VA, which I think is going to be, is going to be much different than this conversation, and it's going to be a little bit different. So if there are any questions, and if a question comes up, feel free to throw it in the chat and we'll address it at the end as well. But yeah, any last comments, Jason, Damien, Liz, or Taylor, that you want to add? Cool. All right, so Amy Smith, if you are ready, I will pull up your slide. And if you could, tell us a little bit about the Caregiver Support Program through the VA.
Okay, thanks guys. Hi. So I'm Amy Smith. I work at the Grand Junction VA. And this slide that's on here is about the General Caregiver Support Program, which is not a paid caregiver support program. It provides support and resources for veteran caregivers, but not compensation. So that's the program I run. Excuse me, but I'm going to talk about specifically the paid program for veteran caregivers. So there is a stipend program available to caregivers of veterans. And I'm going to talk specifically to that. There's also another one called Veteran Directed Care, and I'm just going to very generally talk about that because I don't know a lot about it. So if you have veteran directed care questions, I will give you a number. But anyways, so we are the VA. We only serve veterans. So all of our people have to be, all of the people that are getting the care recipient has to be a veteran. And the veteran, in order to apply for this compensated program, the veteran himself must be 70% or more service connected. The only thing we ask of the caregiver, they must be more than 18. And if they are not a family member, let's say they're a friend, a neighbor, not in any way related to the veteran, they must also live with them, providing the care. So in order to apply, right there is the VA caregiver support line. And that number, you can call that number and they can give you all the information you need to apply. You can apply online at va.caregiver.gov. And you can also, there's that'll take you to an online application or an application, a PDF that you can print out, and you fill that out and then you mail it in. There's an address that you mail it into. So those are the ways to apply. So you only apply through the VA. You can't apply through anything else, through anywhere else. And then the geographical reach of the compensation program. So our specific geographical reach is just the geographical reach of our facility, but this is a federal program. So any veteran who has a caregiver and that the veteran is 70% or more 70% or more service connected. And veterans know what that means. If you don't, they do. They can apply. Doesn't mean that they will be accepted and paid, or, but they can apply. And the amount of compensation is equal to GS level 4. So you can look up the GS level 4 in the government pay scale within that area. So within that geographical area. So it depends on the area you live, what your salary will be. It's commensurate with the salary of that particular area. So caregivers in different places will get paid different amounts. And there are 2 levels. The first level is a level 1, and it's 60% of that GS level 4 salary. So it's a yearly salary, and it's broken up into 12 separate months. And there's a level 2, and then they get paid 100% of that GS4 salary. Again, broken up into 12 months. They get paid monthly. That money is not taxable. So that's what they get is what they get. There's no taxes on that. They don't have to claim it. And the caregivers, so the VA caregiver support program will be the ones who come and check in. So the caregivers are offered a lot of different support groups, trainings, videos. I mean, it's just, you name it, there's a lot out there, but they have to check in with the agency. The agency will check in with them. We will call you and we will set up what's called a wellness contact every 4 months, and it has to be completed. It is not an option. You have to complete your wellness contact. Wellness contacts are done over the phone 3 times a year, and 1 time a year they have to be done in home. Again, has to be done. There are no ifs, ands, or buts, no options. You have to have it in the home. And the training is a quick either online or book training that is just on basic caregiving skills, right? There is a little bit of training. You have to complete that training and take a post-test. It's really easy. It's nothing that any of our caregivers have ever had an issue with completing it. So there is a little bit of training done. It's one time only. We do offer a lot of other trainings if they need it, but that one-time training is all that's required. So the limitations again are just obviously veterans and the 70% or more service connected to get paid. And then there are, once you submit your application, that application will be submitted to the facility that you go to. So if you go to a facility on the Eastern Slope, if you go here to Grand Junction, and it doesn't matter where you live. We have people that live in Colorado but go to a VA in Wyoming, right? So the VA in Wyoming does all their assessments. So there are 3 specific assessments. One is for the caregiver, one is for the veteran, and then one is a functional assessment for the veteran to see what their needs are. They must have a minimum of 1 ADL need. They need to be dependent in that need every single time that ADL is performed, and or a need for supervision, protection, or instruction. So let's say they cannot manage themselves safely in the home alone, or they cannot manage themselves safely outside in the community alone. They have to have at least one of those to qualify for the program. And it's a pretty stringent application process just because those assessments are long. Those assessments are really, they're just a lot. And those assessments have to take place over a video connect or in person at a facility. But that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, the approval rate kind of varies. It's I think it's hovering around 30% right now at our facility. And like I said, that we take all these assessments, and these assessments are sent to a centralized team that decide on the approval or denial. So it's not done at the facility level. I don't know. That's pretty much it. VDC real quickly, we have something called veteran directed care. And like I said, I can only speak generally to it, but it is, we run that through the area agency on aging here. And the veteran can pick anyone they want to be their caregiver. There's assessments required with the VA itself. And right now, that money is given to the veteran to spend however they want. They can pay this caregiver to do it, or they can pay this caregiver. They can do whatever they want to with that money. That money is for their caregiving needs. It's typically a husband-wife situation, not always, but typically, because our veterans that qualify for these programs are much older, right? This is a much older situation. And the VDC is specifically only for Mesa County here on the Western Slope. So you have to live within Mesa County to be able to qualify for VDC here. It will be different throughout, like Eastern Colorado. I don't know what their rules are for VDC. So that one, VDC, I would recommend just calling your local facility, your local VA facility, and asking for your VDC coordinator. So it's Veteran Directed Care, VDC. The VA is great about making everything into an acronym. Everything is an acronym. And if you have anyone that you know, anyone that's interested in the paid caregiver program, even if they don't know, you know, are they service connected? Are they not? We would love for them to contact us. We want to know all the caregivers, whether or not they are, you know, whether they can enroll for the paid one or not. And the best number is to call that VA caregiver support line. They will connect you with the right facility.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. And I think you answered it, but you said that that the VDC program, even though you run the Mesa County, it is available in other counties.
It could be available in other counties, but for right now on the Western Slope, right at the second, it's only available in Mesa County. We are trying to expand it. We have a new VDC coordinator coming on, and that's the goal. But like I said, Eastern Colorado may have it available in, you know, more than one county. Right now, we only have one county over here that we can pay for if you live there.
Gotcha. And the best thing is to just contact their local VA.
Contact your local VA, because it's going to depend upon who that VDC coordinator is, and I wouldn't know that. They would.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much. And I can't. Does anyone have their hand up?
I see a question from Joe. I do not have a program that assists veterans when they are caregivers, which seems very backwards, right? And the caregiver that gets compensated must be caring for a veteran. So if the veteran is caring for a civilian, we can't provide any compensation for them. We can certainly provide them support and resources, but we cannot provide compensation. Kent, did you want to ask a question?
I was just going to mention in El Paso County, the VDC program is through the Independence Center.
Okay. Good to know.
And I did put that name and phone number in the chat.
Okay.
And we'll share that.
Thanks, Kent. And thanks, Joe, for your question. Great. Well, yeah, so any last minute questions or comments? Is there anyone on the call who's participated in any of these programs and you kind of want to talk about your experience, you know, applying, or anything you want to share?
So I haven't participated in the program, but what I do know from talking to the Independence Center and the VDC program, that's probably one of the easiest, more flexible programs the VA offers for vets to get assistance with caregiving. I mean, this may sound odd. The VA did well in setting that one up in terms of making it flexible and easy to access and whatnot. I mean, it's one of their better programs to assist veterans. So most veterans who participate in the program here in El Paso County with the VDC are happy with it.
Great. It's good to know where another one exists. So El Paso County. Thanks, Kent. All right. So yeah, thank you to all of our presenters. I will just briefly share the information pages for the programs that the presenters weren't able to be here today. And if anybody has any information you want to share, or any insight into these programs, so MGA is one of the first ones that I have. So Liz and Taylor, sorry to put you on the spot, but if there's anything helpful you can share that you know about these programs, feel free. MGA, and then Apex Caring Services is one that I know of that offers a non-CNA option. So yeah, so this is the MGA information, and then I'll go ahead and show the Apex Caring Services is through the HCBS Medicaid program.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Apex, but it looks like they just do in-home support services, because health maintenance activity, homemaker, and personal care, those are all under the in-home support services umbrella. And just to reiterate, there are 3 waivers that make an individual eligible to participate in IHSS. There's 1 children's waiver, and that's the Medicaid CHCBS, or Children's Home and Community-Based Services. And then for adults, there are 2. There is the EBD, or Elderly, Blind, and Disabled, and the CIH, which is the Complementary and Integrated Health Waiver, formerly the SCI waiver, or spinal cord injury. That's a recent change. So if CIH sounds unfamiliar, that's why. But those are the 3 waivers, 2 for adults, 1 for peds. I don't know much else apart from that for Apex. And then MGA, kind of in the same wheelhouse as Pasco and Team Select and Solace, very similar services, in addition to their private duty nursing, which we do not do.
Got you. Thank you so much, Liz. And sorry for all of the slide changing. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, all of this contact information will be available. I'll send it out in a follow-up email. So if anyone wants to reach out to any of these contacts, feel free. And very satisfied. Thank you, Deanna. Voyager Home Healthcare is a new name to me. They became one of our approved providers for our voucher program last year, but I've had a really great experience working with them so far. So, so yeah, thanks for sharing your experience. So yeah, I don't, Amy Harris, or Megan, anything that you want to share before we move on to the next piece?
Nothing for me. This was, I thought this was really helpful. This is really, really good information that was shared today. And it's something that we get so many questions about, not only the Colorado Respite Coalition, but also the area agencies on aging, the ADRCs, Aging and Disability Resources for Colorado, the SUA, the State Unit on Aging. We get client calls, and this is pretty much the #1 question is, how can I get paid to do this? I wish there were more ways. I wish it wasn't limited to VA and to Medicaid, but at least we know now how those more and better, how those processes work to guide others. And maybe one of these days there will be an expansion to Medicaid. I think it's identified, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was identified in the National Family Caregiver Support program, in the National Strategy to Support Family Caregivers that was released last year, that there is a commitment to looking at ways to expand ways to compensate caregivers that I think would go beyond Medicaid restrictions. that, I don't know when that's going to happen or if that's going to happen, but I'm hopeful it at least was acknowledged in that plan, that we can expand these services. So yeah, really great panel. This is awesome. Thanks for putting this together, Erin.
Yeah, and then yeah, sorry, Megan, but that just made me realize too, that's right. Thank you all for participating in this conversation, because all of this is bringing more awareness to what caregivers are doing in the home, which is a lot of work. So yeah, thank you all, for everything you do to bring more awareness to that and get folks to recognize, the benefit that they're providing to their communities by helping their loved ones stay at home and providing that care. So yeah, all right. So we're just going to kind of wrap up now, and we made the decision, or actually what we would like is your help in deciding whether a fourth quarterly statewide webinar would be useful, at least to this group, or if you would prefer we just kind of wait until the start of the year and start over. I think we all know how hectic the end of the year becomes. So yeah, we're just curious on your thoughts of whether we should try to have a fourth for the year or just start over in the new year. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. So if you don't mind sharing your input, we would appreciate it. So yeah, I'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to respond to that. Can everyone see it okay? Great. Thank you so much, Amy. We appreciate you sharing all of that information. So yeah, I hope you hear from someone as a result of this.
I do too. That would be great. Thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. And yeah. No worries. All right. If anyone has any, anything that you would like to share, if anybody has any news or information from their programs that you'd like to share with this group, feel free. You can also reach out to me after the call and I can include it in our follow-up email. If you have any events or any information that you want to share with this group. We always, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just reading the chat. Kelsey had a thing to share.
Oh yeah, Kelsey, go ahead. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for reminding me.
No, it's no worries. I really enjoyed learning a lot about this. My background is as a physical therapist, so I am constantly in people's homes and trying to refer them and help them, give them resources. So this is super helpful. I mean, I've been in PT for 10 years and didn't know about some of these programs. So I'm really glad I was on this call in general, so I can have that for my resource list, my packet that I carry around. So thank you for sharing. I am coming from a different perspective. I am working for No Barriers, which is a nonprofit out of Fort Collins, and we live caregiver retreats for people locally and as well as nationally. And I just wanted to come on because we are making some more really effort to make established connections with our local community. And we know that caregivers get a lot of burnout and feel very, very tired. And in 2019, we started retreats by adopting the Arch Foundation, founded by Heather Zocali, into our system. So we've been leading caregiver-specific retreats for about 3 years. The company has been around, or the organization has been around for about 20 years, doing youth and veterans. But I wanted to let you guys know that we have a few openings for retreats still coming up. Some of them they're free programs for the caregiver. All they have to do is just be able to get to Fort Collins, and then we go up to our mountain campus in Red Feather, and it's this beautiful campus. It's like over 100 acres, and it butts up right against the National Forest area, and we just provide food for them. We lead some facilitated activities to talk about connection, community, as well as their own identity, getting more connected with who they are and outside of their own caregiving role. A lot of times what we hear is that people feel isolated, as well as that they just don't know who they are anymore. They don't feel connected with their person. And so we just have that time and space to be able to do that. The one limitation that we have is that we can't cover respite care for the person that they're caring for. So we usually refer them. I know Larimer County has a program. The day programs we just started this year to see if that would help, because we usually have multi-day programs that are like 4 days, which is hard to find caregivers for those full 4 days. So we started this year, August 6th and September 22nd, are 2 caregiver programs that are just day programs, to see if that would help relieve some of that burden and see if they want to invest in a way to be able to have more space going down the line. So if those are well received in our community, we'll continue to run them next year. We're just trying to see if that's going to work for people or not. So yeah, I would love if I see some people texting me in the chat about sending some information, and I'd be more than happy to do that. But it's a resource that I would love for our caregivers to be able to access, to get that time and space in a different way, not necessarily getting paid, but just getting a space to relax and to recenter themselves. So yeah. Yeah, so I think that is, I'll just send those individuals who have chatted information about our mountain campus as well as our retreats. So,
sure. And then Kelsey, if it's okay, I'm just going to share your information in our follow-up email for everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, cool. Both work. So yeah, thanks. Thank you. And yeah, anybody else?
I would like to talk if I could. My name is Jax, and I am on the, I would say, caregiver side, although I'm not a caregiver at this time. My sister is 54, living full-time with my mom, and my mom is paid as a caregiver. Although not in one of the CNA programs, she's actually on a waiver. So my sister is on the, is it DD waiver? I don't know if it's ID or DD, but she's been on it for her entire life. So what my purpose here is to hopefully find services for my mom as far as support groups and that type of thing. And then as my future, possibly being my sister's caregiver, just all of those things are coming into my world where I need to be aware of what's out there for support. I've had a lot of trouble finding support for my mom, for her to be able to connect to other parents that are also caregivers. And so I think that as the days go on, it just becomes very lonely. So, I mean, the retreats are great. I just was also looking for like respite options. And I think that's how I came across the organization here, and then also got on this webinar. So.
Sorry, muted. Yeah, no, thank you for being here, and I appreciate you reaching out. And if anybody, wants to chime in, but Jax, I would love to follow up with you and talk about where you are and your care needs, and we can definitely talk about what is in your area.
Okay. Yeah,
Great.
My sister is very well cared for from her, her day program and her case manager and things like that. But my questions really are around, like, if I do pursue services for my mom on her behalf, like respite and such, I don't want them to impact my sister's bucket, those types of things. And also just like the future. And I just have questions, I guess. So all of this information was very helpful, because I feel like I've been on every side of this of these programs, of these special people.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, I'm really looking forward to talking more. So thank you for being here. And yeah, we'll, talk some more about what's out there and what's available for you. Great. So yeah, I love that we're going to be able to give everybody so much time back, but if there's anything else anybody has before we officially end, please feel free. And yeah, otherwise.
Diane did mention in the chat, there's a program in Larimer and Western Weld County, the Rainbow Respite Program for older adults and caregivers in the LGBTQ+ community. And she included a flyer that I'm going to make sure that I download
Thanks
right
so much
now.
for pointing that out. I was just about to jump on. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have just let you.
Thank you. I keep moving stuff on my screen and I lose the chat and it's a mess. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an initiative under our Caregiver Support Caring Companion Program, which is volunteer-based respite for older adults. We are doing some specialized training and some specialized outreach to the LGBTQ community of older adults. So we just wanted to share that out because that's a new initiative we're working on. So thanks.
That's awesome. And then I think Rachel wanted to talk about Guided by Humanity.
Hi, thank you so much. And I apologize for being off screen here. I'm home with kids in summer. And anyway, thanks for the chance to share. I wanted to let you know that Guided by Humanity is launching a Sangha, a respite program starting in September. It's going to be taking place in our studio on Fridays. We have, for the past 3 years, been offering little mindfulness retreats in the studio, focusing and geared towards adults experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so this respite program is going to take place from 10 until 3 p.m. And it will be focusing on accessible mindfulness, movement. There will be some food shared. There will be some art making, music. It's meant to be a very connecting and supportive environment. And we are currently taking folks who are interested in being in one or being in many of those. It's going to be taking place throughout the year. So please feel free to reach out to me at Rachel at Guided by Humanity if you've got any questions. And we are a little nonprofit yoga and wellness studio in Englewood, just so you know. Thanks so much for letting me share.
Is that guidedbyhumanity.org?
That's it, exactly.
Email? Okay, just making sure. Okay,
yeah,
thanks. Sorry, Erin.
That was my same question, so thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Rachel, that is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so excited for Guided by Humanity and all of the families that this is going to reach.
Oh, thanks, Liz. Do you know, have you checked us out before?
Yes, I know, Mary.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Good. Yes, we do. I mean, we have lots of different classes taking place and we do have virtual programming, and throughout the year, we do also offer virtual support groups for caregivers. We don't have one up on the calendar right now, but we will. So check on what we've got going on if anyone's interested in that.
Amazing, huge need to be met. So I applaud you, and Kelsey Devereaux, same to you. Very excited to hear of what you've got going on.
Thanks, Liz.
Yes.
Great. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And I love having resources to share in the follow-up email. So thank you for giving me some content. This recording will be available if you want to share it with any caregivers who want that compensation for caregiving information. If anybody has any suggestions for our topic for our next webinar, please reach out, Amy, Megan, or myself. We would be happy to talk about it and happy to present on a topic that you think is important. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll give you back this 40 minutes of your day. So thank you for joining, and we'll talk to you again soon. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
I want to stop the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Any?
No, I would say.